Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the poem of the day for today, Sunday, October the 12th, 2025. Thank you for joining us again, or for joining us for the first time. We are in the midst of reading through a series of poems by Edgar Allan Poe, and we've seen certain trends and commonalities through them. Stark nature imagery that's often distorted or described to be something sinister rather than warm, bucolic, and transcendent. We see elements of dark romanticism here, reliances upon imagination, dream, nightmares, an interiority that is the focus of the poems. These are not social poems or far-reaching poems, but they're poems that take place within the psyche and the mind of a single person as they're trying to understand themselves or reflect upon experiences that they're having, usually thoughts of death. And so the poem that we're going to read today is called Alone. It comes again from this nice purple book that I have, Spooky Tales and Poems by Edgar Allan Poe. And Alone is from, look, I did it again. I just have not been looking the year up. Luckily, it's in the front of the book in the table of contents. So this is also 1829. So this is Alone from 1829 by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour, I've not been as others were. I've not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff or of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. Pretty dark ending here. Does not end on a very hopeful note. So this poem is a reflection, a single stanza reflection on a troubled adult on basically the question of, kind of when did I know I was different? When did this all start to go wrong? And their answer in the first four-ish lines reflect upon when I was a child. And I noticed when I was a child that I was not as other people were. I didn't see as they saw, and I could not bring my passions from a common spring. Those four lines are the middle two have a caesura in them with an M dash in there. And those lines then are enjammed, which I think is interesting. Poe doesn't really play a whole lot with form and structure compared to some of the other poets that we've discussed. And so in enjamming these lines, what I think is interesting about that is it has a kind of snowballing effect of the speaker's reflections that it highlights the parallel structure that's in there. I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from the common spring. There has to be a tendency to let those just sit wonderfully upon their own lines, to just kind of let the parallel structure of them really emphasize and sing. But by enjamming them, there's a instability to it and an idea that we're kind of cycling towards something. The poem, the other, I think, interesting structural thing about the poem is that the meter is iambic tetrameter, so four iambs, and you can hear that in something like, as others were, I have not seen. As others saw, I could not bring. So there's our 8. But then we have a turn about 12 lines into the poem where we get to that anaphora of from the torrent, from the red cliff, from the sun, where we're now going to go then to trochaic tetrameter. So instead of the upbeat, the unstressed, stressed of an I am, we're going to go from stressed, unstressed of a trochee. So halfway through the poem, we go from, almost sort of directions up toward to directions down. And it's right about halfway. So there's kind of this tension or this push and pull from both sides of the poem. Just to give you an example, it would be from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain. And you could hear again, as Poe has often done, we're just in a pretty simple rhyme scheme of rhyming couplets here. By changing meter right where he does in the middle of the poem, despite this being kind of an irregular stanza, that indicates a turn. I won't say a volta because I think those are specific to sonnets, but there is a turn in there, and not a contrast, but an intensifying of the tone. The tone of the entire poem, even within the vowels that you hear, is muted and downbeat. And I think by turning that way in the second half of the poem, the meter mimics that downbeatness. And so we're now kind of barreling towards some sort of dark and hopeless ending. Within the second half of the poem, there's a lot of kind of strange imagery that I think we've come to see with Poe, where he's describing kind of sublime or awesome aspects of nature, but then giving them these colors that are a little bit off. And so there's something uncanny or sinister about them, like the red cliffs, or the sun having a tint of gold. Not that gold in the sun is completely off. It's not like he said something like, a black sun or something like that. But the goldenness in there then gives way to the lightning in the sky. So there's kind of the warmth of autumn and then this interruption or this crashing of kind of a violent jolt sent through it. And he places himself, the speaker does, in the midst of all of this, right? It passes me flying by. And like the poem yesterday, where there was a strange specimen descending upon the wings of the descendant insect, we here have from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form when the rest of heaven was blue of a demon in my view. I don't think there's literally for the speaker here a demon descending from the clouds, but what they're indicating is just like childhood at the beginning of the poem, where I have not been as others were, I have not seen what others saw. Things like storm clouds become these kind of Rorschach tests for the speaker, wherein everyone else, others, would see it just as there's thunder, there's lightning, there's a tempestuous storm cloud. And for the speaker, he sees a demon amongst the midst of a blue heaven. And then we have an M dash there, which just cuts off the poem. So we're left on this, kind of terrifying image, but also a reiteration of the ways in which the speaker's perception of things is heightened, perhaps distorted, certainly more imaginative and macabre. And the speaker has an understanding of that the way that they see things is not the way that others do, but it does not allow for the speaker to shift their perception in any way. So there's a sense in which they're kind of caught in this state of mind, which I don't know that this is necessarily an autobiographical poem, but we do know from Poe's life that he was stricken by melancholy and I think it would be safe to say depression, although that was not really an official diagnosis at the time, and that he had his demons is what I'm trying to say, and he often dealt with them in self-destructive ways. And so I think you can read some of that into this poem. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you will join us again tomorrow. In the meantime, may peace be with all of you.